Hello, everybody, and welcome to Financial Fridays with Dawn. So I'm excited today. I just got the email for the link to register for David McKnight. He will be speaking at his live webinar on April 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, showing you how you can retire in the 0% tax bracket. For those of you who have attended my workshop before, this is something that you will know as the final exam. He's going to be doing that live. So be sure to check your emails. I will be sending that out next week on Tuesday, and be sure to sign up. And one more thing, it will not be recorded, so you do not want to miss this because it's live. And today, what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to go over the Ed Slott report, which talks about the Secure 2.0 withdrawals from your retirement plan at work. We're going to talk about RMDs and eligible designated beneficiaries, also known as EBDs, what that is. And then finally, we'll end it with the Investor Minute, where I'll talk about how saving affects you in the area that you invest. So we'll talk about that. So let's begin. I want to share my screen first, and we will go right over here. So let me just pull this up here. So this is from Ian Berger, who is the attorney at Ed Slott & Company. So retirement plans, what are they designed for? They're designed for retirement. But Congress keeps making it easier for employees to pull these funds out while they're still working. I feel you should keep your money in there only if it's an absolute emergency. Today I had a client reach out to me because they wanted to know if they could access their Roth IRA for a vacation. I said, yes, you can access your Roth contributions, but I highly advise against it, again, because this is for retirement. This is building your nest egg. And you should, to do situations like that, you should set aside a monthly budget to plan for your vacations, not raid in your retirement accounts. So the Secure 2.0 law, it adds several new in-service withdrawals that can be made from your 401k, your 403b, and 457 plans. And it also relaxes some of the rules for the traditional hardship withdrawals from these plans. So let's talk about the new Secure 2.0 withdrawals, in-service withdrawals. So the new in-service withdrawal options are for federally declared disaster expenses, terminal illness, victims of domestic abuse, and emergency expenses. And come 2026, in-service withdrawals to pay for long-term care premiums become available. So now emergency expenses, that is only $1,000. So that's not a big amount to take out. And that these plans, they're not required to offer these withdrawals for any reasons. But if they are offered by the company in the plan rules, the new Secure 2.0 withdrawals can be made before 59 and a half without paying the 10% penalty for early distribution. Now, some changes that have taken place to the traditional hardship withdrawals are the following. So traditional hardship withdrawals from the 401k and the 403b plans always had to satisfy these three conditions. One, the withdrawal must be for an immediate and heavy financial need. Most plans allow employees to automatically satisfy this requirement if their expenses fit into one of the safe harbor categories, and there's 7 of them, which is medical expenses, home purchase costs, post-secondary educational expenses, payment necessary to prevent the eviction or mortgage foreclosure, funeral expenses, expenses to repair home damage, and disaster-related expenses and losses. Number 2, the amount of the hardship can't be more than necessary to cover the expense. So you can't just be like, okay, I had a federal disaster, now I'm going to go take out all this other money. It has to be for that specific reason. And 3, the employee can have enough cash or other assets readily available to cover the expense. So you have to be really in dire straits. You don't have any other money to do this. This is the last resort. 457B plans are subject to a stricter standard than the 401k 403B standard. The expense must have resulted from an unforeseeable emergency. So, and starting in 2023, this new Secure 2.0 law permitted 401k and 403b plans to allow employees to self-certify that all 3 of these conditions have been met. 457B plans can also allow self-certification to demonstrate, like I said again, an unforeseeable emergency. And although self-certification is optional, not mandatory, most plans are going to welcome it as a way to avoid taking on that big administrative task, take that off their plate. Secure 2.0 also gave 403B participants more access to their accounts for hardship withdrawals. Before 2024, 401k hardship withdrawals could be made from all plan accounts, but the 403B withdrawals could only come from the employee salary deferrals, so without the earnings. In addition, the 403B participants were required to first take plan loans before they received a hardship distribution, but the 401k participants were not. So effective 2024, Secure 2.0 makes the 403B hardship withdrawals the same as the 401k rules. Let's talk about taxes and penalties. So keep in mind that in-service withdrawals of pre-tax funds, whether they're traditional hardship withdrawals or Secure 2.0 withdrawals, are taxable. And while the Secure 2.0 withdrawals are never subject to the 10% penalty, the traditional hardship withdrawals may be subject to that 10% penalty if you make them before 59 and a half. So I hope that cleared up some information there regarding the in-service plan withdrawals with the new Secure 2.0 Act. Now let's go to the slot mailbag. So Andy's going to be answering these questions for us. So Tom writes, I know you can delay taking your first required minimum distribution until April 1st of the year after you turn age 73. If you convert your entire IRA into a Roth before that date, but after you turn 73, do you still have to take your first RMD distribution? Or is it not required as the entire IRA is converted prior to April 1st of the following year? Well, that's a good question. A lot of people have this. So Andy writes, Tom, once you hit January 1st of the year you turn 73, there's no avoiding the RMD. So converting the entire IRA prior to age 73 of the same year, or even before April 1st of the year after you turn 73 does not help. The RMD will need to be taken out prior to any conversion. If it's converted by mistake, it's going to be an excess contribution in the Roth and it will need to be removed. So again, we want to take those RMDs first before we do those Roth conversions to avoid those penalties associated with excess contributions. Another good question that we get is, I have a question about an inherited traditional IRA. The definition of an eligible designated beneficiary, EDB, includes anyone who is not more than 10 years younger than the IRA owner. What about a person who's older than the original owner? So he says, yes, you're correct. One of the ways to qualify as an EDB is to not be more than 10 years younger than the IRA owner. This is so confusing, the language that they have in the tax code. So this also includes anyone who is older than the IRA owner. So consider it this way. Subtract 10 years from your age. Anyone in the world who is that age or older qualifies as an EBD on your IRA. So for example, I'm 45. So anyone 35 and older who's a beneficiary on my IRA, and should I pass away, they will be considered an eligible designated beneficiary on my IRA. So we have that. Now let's move on to, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and let's go back over here. Sorry, let's start this. And okay, here we go. We'll talk about now the era in which you started saving affects how you invest. In 1997, William Strauss and Neil Howe published a book called The Fourth Turning, An American Prophecy. The premise of this great book is that American history has gone through a cycle of reoccurring seasons brought about by a repeating sequence of events for four generation types. For example, the generation that came after the age of the Civil War and were responsible for the Reconstruction and the Great Industrial Revolution, they shared a similar mindset with the baby boomer generation born 80 years later. In both cases, they were characterized by idealists looking for ways to move forward after such a societal crisis marked by the assassination of an admired president, Kennedy and Lincoln. The fourth turning has been highly influential, especially among business owners and political leaders, and like any sweeping theory, has also had its critics. But there's no denying that people born around the same time will have their attitude shaped in similar ways by their environment. For example, those who lived through World War I were extremely reluctant to enter World War II. In the same way, your attitudes and expectations about investing are heavily influenced by the financial environment in which you first started putting your money away. And those, in turn, is going to affect your investment behavior. Vanguard just did a study recently, and they found that the years investors first started saving could be correlated to how much actual stock they owned. So the median investor who started in 1999, as the dot-com bubble swelled, still had 86% of their portfolio in stocks in 2022. For those who began in 2004, when the memories of the bubble bursting were still fresh in their minds, that figure was just 72%. So, in other words, investors who opened accounts during a boom are likely to retain a significantly higher allocation of equities decades later. The prudent investor will point out that your equity allocation should be determined by your current risk tolerance, your investing time horizon, and retirement goals, not by your feelings about how the market treated you 20 years ago. This holds true whether you're prone to being overly optimistic or overly pessimistic. And one of the most valuable roles I play is that I'm a neutral party who can help you develop your plan based on proven academic principles and your unique financial circumstances, leaving investing beliefs and emotions out of the equation. Run-ups and corrections, there always will mark the day-to-day behavior of the market, and they'll always happen. But your best chance for retirement success is a strategy of steady discipline and long-term consistency. So thank you. That concludes this week's Financial Fridays. If you want to get a jump start on registering for David McKnight's live webinar, please email me or give me a call. You can reach me at 215-660-0288. You could also go to my website, dsfinancialstrategies.com. And if you click that QR code right here on the Zoom link, it'll take you right to my website. So thank you, and I hope you all have a great day.